The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. Digging in. We don't usually do recaps of anything or really talk about how people won because I win so infrequently that it would just become really sad. But joining me on the line, the winner of the DraftKings Millionaire Masters Maker, Millionaire Maker Masters. Doesn't matter. It's $1 million to Drew Mathews. What's going on, man?
Not much, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. Congratulations on everything. You just got married, didn't even realize you'd won $1 million. Is that the best wedding gift you could have?
Oh yeah, you couldn't even ask for that. We're trying to get $100 for a house fund. So
So you can pay off you can pay off all the plates from the wedding, you can pay off the open bar, and then boom, you can go buy a house right now.
oh yeah, I was telling my wife on the way back before I figured out we won. I was like, I'm scared to check my credit card bill. So things worked out pretty well.
I would say so. And I do want to let everyone know that you write for fantasygolfbag.com. Let us know what's going on over there because I bet you if people were reading it, they probably did all right.
Yes, yeah, we put out some content. We just do PGA. So me and a fellow tour professional, mini tour professional. So we do podcasts, we do cheat sheets, articles for the course each week. So yeah, good stuff we're doing over there and growing. So looking forward to getting some new members. This actually helped quite a bit, obviously.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, someday I hope just to, when I enter like $100 worth of lineups, if I get like $101 back, I might screenshot that, put it in and be like, look how good I am. People need to read this now. So everyone can follow Drew on Twitter at RedKA Cheek. What's a KA?
No, it's Kachik actually. So,
It's just Kachik. Okay, perfect.
yeah, I didn't name myself, so it was a nickname from some golfers, and I just kind of let it stuck through DFS. It worked.
All right, well, let's get into how you actually built your Masters lineup. So obviously you had Patrick Reed. How did you end up on Patrick Reed? Because I had like 33 people on the show, and I don't even think his name came up once. Just no one wanted to play him. Was that the draw?
No, he was probably my last pick in my player pool. To be honest, he was like the guy in the right price range, and I was between a few people, and he was someone I stuck out. He was like 10% for my player pool, so he was not on the top of my list.
So how many lineups did you end up entering into the Millie?
Just 20.
Just 20. So where was like your main allocation? Who were like your big core guys?
Sergio was the top. So I had Sergio, Alex Noren. So obviously the majority of those lineups were not doing very well. But I was really, I was kind of cramped for time, and I was able to get my percentages down, and the rest of my player pool was pretty good. So it worked out, even though most of my lines really sucked last week.
Well, it's funny because when you deal with something like the Millionaire Maker where it's so top heavy that you really do, I mean, the difference between coming in first and coming in second is a substantial amount of money. So when you look at it and like, hey, you got to take some of these shots. But it's funny that like how many lineups were dead after Friday out of the 20? Like 12, 13, 14?
Yeah, I think like 17.
So you picked the right one to have Patrick Reed on then.
Yeah, I actually saw it, and 6 made it through on that one and one other line, and I was like, that's super. I had 2 out of 20 lines that really had 6 of 6, and didn't even think anything of it, and just kept moving on up on Sunday.
Now, do you think that, I mean, you played 20. I played 20 in it too, and clearly did not do as well as you. I think I returned like $30 or something like that. So great week for me. But
Perfect.
like when you're mass multi-entering in a tournament like this, if let's say you only had the ability to play one lineup for the $20, would you enter the one lineup, or would you want to have that 20 to? I mean, just look. I mean, 2 of your main core guys missed the cut. Those lineups are dead. Having those extra bullets really did go a long way.
Yeah, it does. In a GPP that big, you got to have the extra bullets. You would make one entry. There's no shot that that's going to actually do well. I mean, you're trying to cover some bases, and obviously 23 people in my player pool isn't very big. But if I made one lineup, it's literally a lottery ticket.
Yeah. So who did you end up with? I mean, the rest of the winning team, because you had Charlie Hoffman and Russell Henley on it. When did you become aware that Charlie had a hole-in-one?
Like later that night. No one even said anything to me. Even Dan Bach mentioned something to me on Twitter about winning it, but I didn't get any notifications for a hole-in-one. So later they're like, you got pretty lucky, you made a hole-in-one. And I was like, oh crap. That's pretty lucky for sure.
So when you ended up taking Hoffman and you ended up taking Henley down at the bottom to fill out those teams, were there other guys down in that range that you had exposure to? Like everyone was on like Chappell and Bryson and Hadwin and those guys. How did you end up on Hoffman and Henley?
Hoffman I really liked since the Valspar, which is funny because he missed the cut there, and I thought he was playing decent going into the Arnold Palmer. So I kind of stuck with it because he played well here last year. And then, Russell Henley just playing well coming out of Houston. Golf's a good game to kind of trend and play well for a little bit of time. So I stuck with Henley this week. So neither one were core plays by any means, but they had enough, allocation in my player pool that, I was able to get them in the lineup.
So of the guys at the top end, how did you end up differentiating between having like, hey, should I have some Justin Thomas? You know what? I'm going to have some Jordan Spieth instead. Or I'm going to take John Rahm. You know what? No one's going to own Ricky. I'm going to take some Ricky. How did you end up making that process?
I really thought Ricky was underpriced. I liked Ricky a lot going into the Masters. The other guys at the top, though, I just, I made a decision to fade pretty much based on ownership. I had Justin Rose in my cash games, but I didn't have him in any of these lineups. And then, Rory, I faded. Dustin, I faded. It just mainly on ownership. I faded those guys and just hoped that, Spieth was probably going to be popular, but I just liked him too much.
Well, if people don't know, you were getting married at the time of the Masters conclusion, so you find this out after the fact. So I have to ask you, what is the second best wedding gift you got then?
Oh man, probably $100.
That's a steep drop off. That's like your winnings compared to my winnings for the week.
Yeah, someone gave me $100 for the house fund that we had for our wedding website, and that's definitely the second best that I've gotten so far.
Well, it's a decent sized payout. The only people that made more money at the Masters than you were Ricky Fowler and Patrick Reed. So, I mean, if I had taken you in my one and done, I feel like I'd be doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good. Actually, a buddy, Matt Parziali, played in it. He was a roommate in college. And I told another friend afterward, I was like, that would have been awesome to play in the Masters, but I'm kind of liking my my situation now.
So how much does your background go into scouting golf week to week? Like you mentioned, like, hey, this guy's trending up right now. He can stay hot for a few weeks. Like, do you notice that more with players and that helps you scout guys out in advance?
Somewhat, yeah. Being able to kind of decipher the statistics a little better. I mean, there's so many statistics, and I use your website and Moose, fantasynational.com. There's so many statistics. You kind of got to weed through it to know what's important and what is kind of just, I wouldn't say fluff, but just, a stat. So, yeah, it definitely helps me know what to look for week to week for each course.
Well, what do you find are some of the fluff stats? Because I have a lot of problems kind of mixing and matching that myself. Like, some of them are not going to be overly predictive for a certain course. Some of them are just not predictive to begin with anyway. Which ones do you just kind of throw aside?
To be honest, usually putting. Scrambling sometimes, but usually putting because it's so variable week to week. If you look back last week and say, or the Arnold Palmer is a perfect example, who led the field in putting would be Rory McIlroy, and he won that tournament. That doesn't mean he's going to be, the best putter the next week. So that's a big one. And then the par 4 distances, depending on the tournament, like this week, 450 to 500 yards is pretty popular, but they're not going to play like that distance on a typical tour event golf course.
What do you mean by that? Just like where this week you're not going to be hitting driver off the tee, you're going to be hitting some fairway irons, so the approach shots are just going to be longer to begin with?
Exactly. For a typical tour event, 450-yard par 4 won't play the same way as it will this week.
Okay. Well, so if we kind of throw out the par 4 distances, what about par 3 distances?
Those are pretty standard. There's really no variables. I mean, you could use that and approach. I like approach depending on the length of the course. So those kind of go hand in hand, but depending on the length of the par 3s, that's probably where I would put weight into it. If they're exceptionally long, that's probably when I'll add that to the model.
Okay, cool. So do you have fun, like when you did your Masters model and made everything, what were the 3 big things that you ended up focusing on? Or do you build your model a different way? Because I generally take 3 stats that I'm really pumped about and I weight those up like 25, 30% and then mix and match 3 or 4 others with like a 5% weight kind of thing. How do you end up building that?
Yeah, usually it's like 25 to 30% will be like a ball striking stat, whether that's tee to green or if I break it out and I say, tee shots or good drives gained, something like that. That's usually the majority of my model. And then after that, I'll kind of fine tune, is it certain approach shots they're going to have a lot into? If scrambling is very difficult around the course, which it is around Augusta, I added that into the model. So it just depends week to week, but usually ball striking is going to be that 30% number like you're talking about.
Yeah, I ended up doing that too. I used to lean really heavily on tee to green, and then once Fantasy National broke it up into ball striking, it made a lot more sense. Because, I mean, if someone's going to be really awesome with their irons, then they probably don't need to lean so much on their short game, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
All right, so you told me that you haven't really had a chance to spend the money yet. What's like the first good thing you're going to spend the money on?
We're trying to buy a house. We've been saving up.
Oh, that's no fun. No, everyone has a house. What are you going to spend the money on?
That's pretty much it. She told me I could buy a car. I had a car for a few years now. That's not the best. It's nothing flashy. It's not a Tesla or anything. But she's like, you could buy a nice truck or a nice Tesla or something. So she'd have to twist my arm a little bit. I'm more apt to, purchase the house and maybe save up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to end up buying a house and then putting the rest in IRAs, I mean, that's probably the sensible move. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun, though.
Yeah, but that's what we have to do here at DFS every week. We got to project value. So
this is true. I mean, hey, if you can get that in a good fund right now, you can just let that build over time, and boom, you don't have to do anything else.
That's the idea. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So what was the first thing you said to her once you figured out that you had won? Did she even know that? I mean, if you didn't even really know that you had, did you know you had a live sweat on the go? Were you aware of what was going on?
Kind of. I was driving the van all the way back from Nashville, and my phone's blowing up with people on Twitter and notifications from DraftKings, people following me. So the dream of saying, this is a good sign was better than me checking my phone and knowing the reality. So I just kind of went with it. And then later I found out I won. And I told my wife, I said, this is probably this is how I'm going to react when you tell me you're pregnant. And she's like, this better not be $10,000. And I was like, no, check it out. And I showed her, and then she just like, no way, you're joking. So it was a pretty fun moment for sure.
All right. So, I mean, you need to let the money change your life, by the way. You need to start acting like Conor McGregor the entire time. You already got the beard on the go. You just need the shades. Yeah. That's gonna be your new look. You can be like the mouthpiece for winning money in DFS golf.
Yeah, beard money. Yeah, I got to groom it.
Yeah, everyone needs some beard money. I did want to ask you a little bit about college golf, mini tours, that kind of thing. When you're getting scouted to go to college to play golf, what's the process behind that? How good are you in high school that people are like, oh shit, man, we need this guy at the university? Yeah,
U.S. golf's a little different than international, and Canada's kind of thrown in there. But I'll speak to the U.S. golf. The AJGA is a American Junior Golf Association. That one's huge. Ricky Fowler, Jordan Spieth, they won many tournaments on there. And obviously they're the best players in the world, but that's kind of where those top names get found. And then for me, it was state level. I didn't get to that big national level scene, but the state level was what helped me get to college and get a scholarship and just playing well. I mean, high school isn't really it. It's got to be in the junior golf associations.
So what college did you end up going to?
It's called Southeastern University. It's here in Lakeland, Florida. It's a small school.
Okay. And did you play all 4 years there?
I did. Yep.
So once you end up graduating and finish off your scholarship playing college golf, do you hit the mini tours?
I did, yeah. So I turned pro. I went to Q school. I didn't even make it out of pre-qualifying, just played terrible. And then just played different mini tour events, putting up $200, trying to win $1,000. And then ended up having shoulder surgery, so probably saved me many, many dollars after that for entry fees. But yeah, you jump right into mini tours, and you're just trying to. I did some Monday qualifiers for the Honda Classic, the Valspar, stuff like that, and just none of them worked out. So it ended up working out in the end, I guess.
What is when you can see the talent of even the guys that are trying to qualify for a Honda Classic or a Valspar, as opposed to web.com players and mini tour players, or even some of the players that go up and play the Canadian tour and then come back down and go to the States? What's really the big difference between those guys? Because it doesn't seem like the talent level is that much bigger. It's just very minimal things.
No, I mean, that's kind of the sad part about professional golf. It's all timing, to be honest. Those guys play well at certain times and really make it. And those guys that are really good and just don't play well at Q school, or they Monday qualify for an event and don't play well, they don't get that chance. So it's really timing. They're all phenomenal players. Just some are, Patrick Reed, Ricky Fowler, Jordan Spieth are better than those guys by a long stretch. But most of the PGA Tour are not, these elite guys. They just played at the right time and kept it going.
So in knowing that some of the courses week to week, how some of the grind can affect these guys, what would you like? Do you have any opinion on like the course history versus recent form debate? Like is course history a real thing, knowing the layout of the land?
Yeah, big time. I would say recent form's probably weighted slightly higher just because, I don't like Luke Donald this week has great course form, obviously, but if he's not playing well going into the event, he's not someone I would really want to look to. But if you're playing decent going into a course you've played really well in the past, that's a huge bump on both sides. So they kind of go hand in hand.
And you mentioned like sort of the form before, like guys get hot, stay hot for a little bit of time. Like it's hard to really scout that out because if a guy is like T34, T55, T21, is he really in great form or is it just missing something? Is he only doing it because he's riding a hot putter? That kind of thing. But like mentally, when you're looking at it, these things are impossible to judge. But can you project anything onto like where a guy's headspace is at like any given moment?
Kind of visually, to be honest. Like I got the PGA Tour Live subscription, so like I'll watch the early morning coverage, and you can kind of see how people are, their mannerisms walking around. Mickelson was that guy before the WGC Mexico. I saw him at the AT&T, I think, and, he just had a lot of confidence. And, you can kind of project that based on their confidence level. But like you said, tee to green stats help out a lot because a T40 finish doesn't mean much. But if they're hitting the ball really well, have a lot of birdie opportunities and just not putting well, that usually is a sign it's going to turn around.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with you. Hopefully I can make some of those picks a little bit better instead of like the disastrous picks I normally do. I need to be like you. Pick the winner, win $1 million. Easy enough, right?
Yeah, easy enough.
All right, Drew, thanks so much for hopping on. You can check out Drew's work at fantasygolfbag.com. Do you have anything else to plug? Tell us about the site.
Yeah, no, the site's awesome. Me and a couple other guys, we love golf and we played it for many, many years. So we got a decent edge and we kind of know what to look for each week. So we just love putting out content and love talking golf. It's just kind of one of our passions and it works out good to make money in DFS.
Yeah, apparently so. Can you help me fix my slice? Because that's a problem for me.
Actually can. We might be opening a forum and you can discuss your need for instruction.
Yeah, my need for instruction is that I'm fucking terrible and I need to stop hitting into the woods off of every tee. Other than that, I'm all right. Just off the tee, I can't do anything.
You probably just need to work on your fundamentals, strengthen your grip.
I blame the clubs. Maybe they're too long, potentially too short. I don't know. So I might have to enlist your help on this one.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Drew. Congratulations again. Any parting words for the people that maybe one day, too, that they could be a millionaire?
Not really, man. I mean, you got to do the process and hope, you get lucky. Some guy makes a hole in one, but I mean, consistency is key in DFS for sure. And, getting a hole in one is just, icing on the cake.
All right. You can follow Drew on Twitter at RedKachik, and you can follow me at ThePME on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience wherever you can download podcasts, and of course, the video version up on the DK Live app and the DraftKings YouTube page. Give it a like. Congratulations again to Drew, and thank you so much for coming on. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!